Record. Good morning, everybody. I have one for you today. We're going to talk to a special friend. Her name is Lindsey. You probably see her on the screen as we speak. She is somebody that I met through a couple of the Facebook groups that I am in, and I'm so excited for her to chat with you today. She has some unique ways of exercising and has some messages that I thought you all would appreciate hearing. So let me introduce Lindsey. Lindsey Willard is a healthy-ish mom. She's got 3 kids, wife to only one, and a small business owner. She's the co-founder and chief marketing officer of Willard Services. It's a woman-owned company that supports small businesses and women entrepreneurs by increasing sales through digital marketing. So all you small business people in there, you all know who you are. We have talked about this behind the scenes. Lindsey, she's a marathon runner, a sprint triathlete in training, and enjoys roller skating. So all my gems, you know who you are. She typically goes to the skate park for some fun, which I love, love, love. And then every week, Lindsey finds joy through creativity, usually includes baking a tasty treat in the kitchen. She might have some recipes for you. We'll find out. All right, so let's get to it. Lindsey, would you please introduce everybody or introduce yourself to everybody?
Absolutely. Bonnie, it is great to be here, and I'm so excited to be speaking with you and your listeners today. Like Bonnie said, I am healthy-ish. I started off this journey several years ago being healthy and definitely being a stickler to my diet and exercise routine. And then a little over 5 years ago, my husband and I adopted 3 kids, and all of that just went out the window. And I had to readapt and relearn what healthy living is like when you have 3 kids.
Yeah. They hear me talk about the twins and healthy eating. Living.
Yes. It's definitely different when you have kids and when you don't have any kids.
Yeah, I used to say that, you know, my Westie was like my kid, and having these 2 guys, no, definitely it's much different. So you and I had talked a little bit about your journey, your health journey. And there are a lot of listeners here who could actually relate to that. Would you mind telling us all about it?
Sure, I am happy to share. So I guess to begin my journey, I'll just briefly talk about kind of my childhood and how I grew up, because like many of the listeners here, I'm sure I was a child in the 80s and the 90s. And for our family, what that meant was there was a lot of processed foods. There was a lot of fast food dinners, soda every day, even like king size bars, candy bars, just about every day. It's what I grew up on. My parents both worked full-time plus. And so dinner was always whatever was quickest and easiest to put on the table. And so there wasn't much growing up for me, at least there wasn't much talk or thought about healthy eating, a healthy lifestyle, what nutrition really meant. And in high school, I was obese, and at my biggest, I weighed about 200 pounds. And I definitely wanted to be healthier, but I had no idea how to do that and what it could look like, especially because of the way that I grew up. Yeah. And what changed for me was when I was in college, in the early 2000s, a family member had quadruple bypass heart surgery. Thankfully, it was caught before a heart attack or anything happened. But it definitely made me realize, hey, this is in my family history. There's a lot of other diseases in my family history. And a few years after that, I finally decided to get serious about eating healthy. And what really made that change for me was getting married in 2009. And in 2010, I actually had my last soda. So I have not had any soda since 2010, which is wild for me because I used to drink it every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I guess too with that journey, it was mainly for myself because I wanted to be healthier and I needed to find the tools to do that. But it was also after getting married and realizing, now I have, a husband, hopefully we'll have a family at some point in time. And what do I want this life to look like? And who do I want to be? And what really got me going with eating healthier was that shift first, that mindset shift. But then also, I am an extremely ambitious, stubborn person. And I always had it on my bucket list to run a half marathon. But I knew in order to do that, I was going to have to shed some pounds and eat healthier. And so that's what started the weight loss and the health journey in early 2010, was really to lose the weight so I could run that first half marathon.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That was something that I know. I know a core group of followers within this would definitely resonate with, especially just completing that half marathon and seeing the results of all your hard work.
Mm-hmm.
And now I know since then you kind of transitioned into some creative ways of exercising, getting fitness in. Can you share how you've gone about that? What are the ways besides, I know roller skating is one of them.
Yes. Yes. So I ran the first half marathon in 2010. I ran a few more. And then in 2016, I ran a marathon. And once I did that, apparently during the race or just after, I suffered herniated disc in my back. And once that happened, I didn't really want to even try to train after that. The physical therapist said that I might, could run in the future, but I was like, I've met my goal. I did my marathon. And then a few months after that is when my husband and I adopted our 3 kids and they were placed with us. And so it took me a while to get back into running. I had tried over the years, and since I had been not just like a 1 or 2 mile a day runner, but like a marathon runner, it was hard to just do really short runs instead of wanting to do these much longer runs to train for a race. So what I ended up doing was starting to do yoga in the mornings is what really helped me strengthen my core, strengthen my back. And that really started consistently during COVID, since I was home anyway. I was doing that more. And also with COVID, since I was home, I thought I need to find something that I just love to do that's fun for me. And as a kid, I loved roller skating and ice skating. So I thought, I've got a half-finished basement large enough that I can just kind of test out my skills, see where I'm at with roller skating. And I loved it. Absolutely loved roller skating. So I've been doing that now for almost a year, starting with just skating in my basement, which wasn't much of anything, but just to see if I could keep my balance, if I could do any spins any longer, which, man, those took a while to get back. And then I decided to start making these roller skating videos where I dance mainly to like 90s music on roller skating. Cool. which is just so silly and ridiculous, but so much fun. And it always puts a smile on my face. So really a fun way for me to exercise and to have fun with roller skating, which now has become much more than just those music videos, but also going to the skate park and trying out some new tricks. But it's a lot of fun. And I know there's so many different ways for us to find that fun. And we so often forget as we get older that we can have fun and we can find enjoyment. And it might be something we did when we were younger. It might not be, but we can definitely find that fun again.
Absolutely. Yeah. Exercise doesn't have to be something that is not fun. We have to do it for our whole life. So we might as well have fun doing it.
Absolutely. Yes.
mean, we're not getting away from it. So
No. And if we just see exercise as a chore, it's just going to be something else to add to our to-do list. And like, who wants to do that? I don't want to add anything else to my to-do list.
yeah, we all have busy schedules, especially nowadays. Nobody needs anything else added to that checklist.
Definitely. Definitely not.
And I know roller skating's it's coming back. There's a lot of us who've reached this point. I was telling you about my sister and her roller skates. I so want to copy them. They are like metallic, but they're like total 1980s style. So you can just put so much fun into so many different things.
Yes. And I will say I'm on my second pair now. After I like tested it out to make sure it was something I want to do, I got a much better pair, but my first pair were just these mint green roller skates that the wheels lit up, which was just so fun. Like, who doesn't want light up wheels?
I love it. I love things like that. I mean, yes, we're adults, but who says we can't have those things?
Right.
Good. We need much more fun in our lives. I totally agree with that.
So we all need more fun. Absolutely.
Definitely. All right. So now along this journey, obviously mindset and stress management has played a role. Do you have any tips or tricks, things that you do on a regular basis that you find helpful and, kind of a bit more natural and easy to include in your life?
I will say that especially once the kids came along, I was prioritizing them and the family so much, which was definitely needed. I mean, especially at first, but as time went on, I was like, I'm just not prioritizing myself. I'm not scheduling time for myself. I'm not making time for myself. I don't know what fun is anymore. And again, just with some of those mindset shifts, it was I have to prioritize myself if I want to get back into eating well, if I want to get back into exercising and having fun. And one of the ways I did that was totally changing my my time in the mornings of when I would get up and what I would do. I had been trying to get up before the kids anyway, just to have some breathing time, some coffee time. But I finally started making myself get up even earlier. So I would get awake and I would wake up and I still do about an hour to 2 hours before anyone else is awake in the house. And I journal, I do yoga, I think through like what I want the day to look like and just make sure that I am in a settled place so that I'm not waking up anxious and trying to move everyone along for the day, that I have that time to just sit and be for a little while. That is definitely my number one priority every day.
That's actually something that I have started looking into, and the boys are at that place where like Keegan's waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning for some reason. And he's sleeping till 7 still. So we're fluctuating with that and trying to figure out when to put the time in so you have quiet time and you're not exhausted doing so.
Yes.
I know me. There are definitely tips I can learn from moms like you who have much more experience than I do at this point. Ways of fitting it in and just trying to schedule time. Do you have any suggestions, like for those of us that really can't do that hour or two earlier in the morning because of, I mean, I'm there's a million situations out there, but do you have suggestions for how we fit that in? Have you had I'm assuming here that you've been through this all.
I will say I up until the last 2 years, I have never been a morning person in my life. I mean, my husband used to go to work at like 7:30 and I would still be in bed. I just was not a morning person. So that took quite a bit of time. And again, our youngest was 9 months when she came home with us. So we were still on like that baby schedule too, so it takes some time to readjust your schedule and get used to something new like that. But also what I did do in the beginning was nighttime, having some quiet time at night was also really important. And sometimes that meant leaving dishes in the sink. Sometimes that meant not doing the laundry. Sometimes that meant, leaving the phone off for even like 15 to 20 minutes so I could just sit and rest. And I remember what those days are like, where even like 15 to 20 minutes sounded like a long time because I didn't have that that time. But once I just was consistent with that and made myself do that, once the kids were in bed, I started to notice that shift. And I think from those few minutes a day is how I was able to get to that new morning routine where I'm at now.
Okay. That's kind of the stage I'm in, where we have a lot of nights where the dishes sit till the next morning.
Yes.
And whoever wakes up first does the dishes.
Yeah.
And, more than once, like right now we have laundry all over the couch because, it was a late night, but in order for both of us to decompress, it'll be there when I'm done.
Absolutely. I mean, and that time, even if it's just 15 to 20 minutes, can really be a game changer. At least it was for me. And I know it is for other people.
Yeah.
And I would say too, another thing that we all do is spending so much time on our phones. And I know as a small business owner, you really feel like you got to get back with people right away. You want to make sure you're checking your inbox, you're replying to messages, but it can really make a world of difference just setting your phone aside. That is one thing I do. Even at night, I do not take my phone to bed. I leave it in the kitchen and I don't look at it until after I get my coffee in the morning.
That's a good plan.
Yes.
We just switched back last week to iPhone, or I think it's been a couple of weeks. And I noticed the biggest difference. So with Samsung, with the Android that I had, I could set do not disturb. Because I'm one of those people, if I hear a noise, it's going to distract me quickly.
Yes.
I use the do not disturb a lot. And I noticed with iPhone, you actually can set multiple versions of it. So I can set people or like apps to each one, which has actually been very helpful. I mean, the Android was really good with the do not disturb and, only allowing the people I wanted to come through, like my mom and dad and my husband and my sister, the ones that if they have an emergency, I have to answer.
Right.
So that's been really helpful, is using technology to turn it off for me.
Yes, it is definitely helpful. Any of those, doing the full do not disturb, or just, turning off notifications, or doing the do not disturb on certain apps or people, all of that is really helpful.
Yeah. I have all of my social media apps have notifications off. Right now, my messenger on Facebook has a notification on, but that's because of a friend. But normally everything is turned off. Lots of noise.
Yes, I'm the exact same way. My notifications are always turned off unless there's something I know that I'm expecting, but otherwise they're off.
Yeah, it's a good suggestion to minimize the noise coming into your world, because the more noise coming in, we feel like we have to respond to everything. And in reality, we don't. Like, there's a whole emergency concept.
Yes.
My husband works in new homes and, or in real estate, and it's actually drilled into them that someone responds, you have to respond right away. So I feel like everything's an emergency, and it's not. It's not.
No.
Management mindset tool, especially with busy activities.
Yes.
So I have a topic I know we didn't talk about, but I kind of was thinking about it as we were talking today.
Okay.
Can you talk about treats? So I always talk about moderation, eating in moderation, eating variety, and not torturing yourself, and actually eating your favorite foods, just doing so in a healthier way. And you and I had talked about this a little bit. Would you mind sharing some of your suggestions for doing that?
Sure. I all about eating in moderation. I don't believe anything necessarily needs to be taken out from your diet. I mean, obviously, if you have food issues and allergies, that's a different story. But for me, from those years when I was really being healthy and watching what I was eating, it helped tremendously with getting my body into shape and looking more at nutrition. But nowadays, especially with the kids, I don't want them to think of, a piece of chocolate cake as like evil or bad or something like that. And so what I do is I absolutely love baking. I love cooking too, but baking is really what I love doing. And what I do is I'll still bake cookies. I'll still bake cinnamon rolls. I bake chocolate cake because it's one of my favorites, but I'm always looking for substitutions. So with my cinnamon rolls, I use both all-purpose and wheat flour in them. I don't use any butter in the cinnamon roll recipe. And for the filling, I'll use applesauce instead of butter. And so, I mean, yes, there's still some sugar in there, but there's not nearly as much as there would be otherwise, and not nearly the fat and cholesterol. So it's still a treat. I still don't want to be eating it all the time, but at least at least there are some healthier versions to some of those treats, like with the cinnamon rolls. And even with cookies, I love just doing peanut butter and chocolate chip cookies without flour in it. And that also really helps and adds more protein, by just doing the peanut butter. So always looking for those substitutions. And sometimes it's trial and error, but since I love baking, I'm fine with testing out, what works and what doesn't work.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just made, I have one of those mini donut waffle thingies.
Uh-huh.
And, it's got donuts all over it. And Drew and Keegan figured out what a donut was. They haven't had an actual donut, or they have, but they were young enough, they don't remember it. And I made them blueberry muffins with a lot of spinach inside of them and just put them in the donut maker.
Yep.
So now they're having donuts, but they don't realize that they're not really having donuts. They're having a protein-based muffin.
I have no idea there's spinach.
No idea. It's awesome. It's absolutely fabulous because they've most definitely hit the phase where they don't like to eat their vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of adults that I run into that when I talk to them initially, they will literally say, I hate vegetables, so I need to figure out how to hide them.
Which is incredible, isn't it? That there's that many adults too that refuse to eat them or have a hard time eating them.
Yeah, there are a lot of adults that are like that, which is, it blows my mind, but it's good to know you can put it in a bunch of different things. And I'm a cook, I'm not a baker, so I love learning things like that from people like yourself that do like to bake. Okay, so you definitely work with women business owners. So tell me something. Can you give me some suggestions for women who struggle with time constraints, trying to build their businesses, but trying to live healthier lives at the same time?
It is definitely a challenge. And I think too, we all keep hearing this message of balance. It's all about balance and, this work-life balance. And I mean, yes, it is. But I also think that, especially for entrepreneurs with small business owners, that you are responsible for bringing in that money. And so, of course, you're going to prioritize your business. But, just like I had to do, years ago when I brought the kids home, I still had to find a way to prioritize myself. And I know with small business owners, some of them just live and breathe their calendar. And so my suggestion to them is to always schedule a time a day. It can be 10 minutes, it can be 20 minutes, it can be longer if you need it to be longer, but to make sure that you are prioritizing yourself and whatever self-care looks like for you, or whatever exercise needs to look like for you, or fun, or even rest. Like sometimes people I work with just need to schedule that 10 minutes of rest during the day because they're not getting it, the way that they should be.
Yeah. Those are good suggestions. Thank you. Because I know that's one thing I definitely struggle with, is trying to figure out, I have a limited amount of time I can work on. There's a lot of us out there that are very similar, people with jobs or with families that, the job pulls in the income until the business can take over.
Right.
And it's hard. And it's also very hard when you get into the flow and your calendar says it's me time. But the me time doesn't, it's going to stop that flow. Taking that time, even though you've got a flow, I know that's really challenging.
It's definitely challenging. But I think too, consistency is key with doing that, because then you just start to get into that routine, you start to get into that habit, and then hopefully, you are starting to recharge during that time. You're really starting to get that energy back and not feel so, I've got so much to do, all the time, which we all do.
Yeah, it's normal life at this point, I think. So would you recommend having a set time all the time to keep that consistency, or would you recommend having, setting aside time as it comes?
It depends on what works best for you. I used to love living off of a schedule, but these days, ever since COVID, I don't know what it is, but I do not like having to live off of the schedule if I can help it with certain things. And that me time is one of those things. Like right now, which I didn't mention earlier, but I'm training for my first sprint triathlon. And I tried to schedule things out, like a specific time of day I was going to do it, and life happens and it just did not work for me. So I just make sure I find that time during the day and go out and do my training. And I find other people that works for them where they know they need to have that time. So it may not be, right at noon every day, but it might be, I'm going to make sure I get this time in the morning, or make sure I get this time in the afternoon, just to be sure you don't miss it, once bedtime comes around.
Yeah, that's definitely the challenge, is getting it, because by the time the end of the day hits, I don't think any of us are wanting to.
No. And I think too, we get in this mindset of it's all or nothing. Like if I can't do, this whole thing that I want to do, I'm not going to do any part of it. And, so that's why even just setting aside 10 minutes, or getting into that mindset of 10 minutes today, I'm going to make some time to, be conscious about my eating. I'm going to, or be determined to get outside and go for that 10-20 minute walk, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. It can just be part of what you wanted to get done, or part of your self-care for that day.
I like that thought. Yeah, that's definitely something that a lot of us struggle with. So it's nice to hear suggestions from people.
Yeah. Like I said, I think I said earlier, I'm type A high achiever. Like I understand, so understand what that's like, and having that mindset. And it's a challenge to make that shift.
Yeah. And I'm on the opposite spectrum. I am, like it drives my sister and my husband crazy, but I'm the one that packs as we're walking out the door. I mean, granted, with the boys, it's a little bit different now. But if it's just me, it's, I pack as I'm walking out the door. My days are never scheduled. Schedules drive me crazy. They've always driven me absolutely batty. I do much better when things are more of just, I don't want to make it sound too casual, but more of just, here's what I have to do today. It will happen some way or some form. But then, there's a lot of people out there who are not like that. We're all different. So it's kind of nice to hear from a type A personality. Sometimes it's best to just say, hey, we're going to do this today. And however it works out, it works out.
Yes. Yeah. It's, again, that's been a huge learning curve for me over the years, but COVID changed so many things for me. And that's been one of those things, which could actually be for the better, that I'm starting to get more into that mindset.
Yeah. Some people find it's less stressful. Some of us find it's more stressful, but so it kind of combats your stress management. But
yes.
Well, I am so glad you came on. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your suggestions. Did you have anything else you wanted to share with us?
It's been great to talk with you, Bonnie. And I know too, a lot of your listeners are probably wondering how on earth they can fit in time to do all of this. But, again, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Because if I had stuck with that mindset, there's no way that I would be training for my first sprint triathlon right now, or that I would be eating the way I am now. Because getting into that mindset really just, at least for me, really shut me down for a long, long time, until I realized it doesn't have to be everything. I can just do part of this.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good mentality to have. It's one of the challenges that I find a lot of us, especially women, that's probably one of the number two mindsets I hear, or the comments I hear when I first start working with people, is the all or nothing, and nothing has to be all or nothing.
Right. Definitely.
Nothing. Well, you shared some links with me. I'm going to put them in the comments and the description. So anybody wants to follow her roller skating journey, her videos down below. And if you want to connect with her either as an inquiry or to work with her in any way, shape, or form, find out a little bit more about her, Lindsey's links will be down in the description below. Thank you so much again for joining us. And you guys have questions or comments, put them in, and one of us will pop in and answer you. Thank you again for joining us, Lindsey. I will chat with you all later. Bye. Oh, wait. We're going to cut that part off. Stop recording. There we go.